Hey everybody, Thacia here with Legacy of Light in conjunction with One Love Wellness Center here in Menasha, Wisconsin, coming to you for one of my 365 days from my heart to yours. And today we're going to be doing chapter 4, Stay Loyal to Your Journey, from If the Buddha Dated. So it's a handbook for finding love on the spiritual path. So, your daily life is your temple and your religion. Whenever you enter into it, take with you your all. And that's by Kahlil Gibran from the Prophet. You are unique in all the world. You have gifts, talents, strengths, and a capacity for a wide range of emotion. Just as we have spring, summer, fall, and winter, just as the oceans rise and fall, just as the moon waxes and wanes, you have an inner world that is fluid and shifting. You have a rich potential to feel love and hate, joy and sadness, tenderness and passion, and your journey is to know yourself. Stay loyal to your journey means you never abandon yourself by compromising your integrity or discounting your intuition or the signals that come from your body, the knot in your gut, the emotional detachment, or loss of energy that signals something is amiss. You learn to realize that when you hit your edges, when you feel backed up against the wall, sacred to see what you see, or scared to see what you see, know what you know, or feel what you feel. When people hit the edge, they usually run away by going numb, distracting themselves, changing the subject, counterattacking, overindulging in food or drink, or blaming. We may hit an edge when someone hurts us or when someone loves us more than we love ourselves. It is harder for many people to allow love to pierce their heart than to have a chaotic, painful relationship. I remember that when I was adolescent, a very dear young man named Eddie pursued me. I liked him, I enjoyed being with him, and one day I just froze up and couldn't talk to him. Many years later, I came to understand that I feared his love would penetrate my heart and open up a torrent of buried heartaches and pain. It was less threatening to date people who emotionally starved me. To be loyal to your journey is to care for yourself, and remember that at your center, you are a luminous essence capable of compassion and love. Buddhists use many images to describe the inner perfection: the sun behind the clouds, a pot of gold underneath the ground, a jewel that is buried in mud beside the road. Using the jewel image, we can remember that the precious stone is beautiful, radiant, and shining. But unless someone else or someone digs it up and washes it off, it cannot shine or be appreciated. Most of us have coverings over that jewel that is within us, the false beliefs and the masks that block our connection to our perfect essence. According to Stephen Walensky of the Tao of Chaos, we all start life as an essential being, completely spontaneous and free, without memories or associations. He writes, as we are conditioned, programmed, and taught how to look, how to be, how to behave, how to act, how to imagine, how to feel, how to think, our essence becomes submerged between all the identities that we take on. We learn to please mom, smile for company, get good grades, and make endless adaptations to be noticed and loved. Eventually, we lose contact with our essence, and we even come to fear it. According to Walensky, an identity, if it enters this emptiness, imagines annihilation, non-existence, or death. This inner emptiness is the inner essence which we all seek and which contains essential qualities like love, peace, power, invulnerability, and so on, and which is intrinsic to the nature of the essence. So a question Stephen Walensky posed at the workshop to help people feel their essence was this: without mind, memory, or associations, what is love? I drew a complete blank in response to his question, because without mind, memory, or associations, there is only essence. Staying loyal to your journey means learning to recognize the adaptations or the identities that we've adopted to survive and please others. We need to first acknowledge them and realize that they're only the coverings over our essential being. They are the voices that say, be careful, don't get too close. You can't trust anyone who needs love anyhow. There are ways we protected ourselves as children, but we are no longer children. We can now see beyond our childhood perceptions of safety. As we loosen the grip of those identities and stop believing they are real, we become freer and resonate with the heart of a lover, touching, giving, receiving, and connecting. The spiritual path wrecks the body and afterwards restores it to health. It destroys the house underneath the treasure, and with that treasure builds it up better than before. And that again is Rumi. So to be loyal on our journey is to know the rhythm and the tone and the pulse of our essential inner world. The song that is ours alone. When two people bring the richness of their inner music to each other, they bring the possibility of a new composition, of a counterpoint, a harmony, voices weaving together, creating a magical composition. If we are disconnected from the music of our essence and attempt to find happiness through another song, there will be dependency and a relationship without harmony. So again, we must, if we want to experience our highest divine expression, love and accept everything of who we are. All of these coverings that we've built up over the years, and look at them from the outsider, as the observer, and just do it without judgment, so that we can become connected to our essence and then share our essence in song with someone else, creating an even better song. And I love that part of Rumi's poem, that the spiritual path like wrecks your body, because it does. It wrecks all of these preconceived notions that you've had. And it brings you to this place of humility and knowing that you are everything and nothing all at the same time. And then it says that view that you had before is nothing compared to this view that I'm going to show you. And guess what? It's going to be better than what you thought, what you imagined. It is going to be greater than that. So some questions to explore as you consider forming a relationship on your spiritual path, a conscious relationship with yourself and then with someone else. What are the thoughts and beliefs, the false identities that limit your life? So spend some time maybe just writing them down, really contemplating what are some of these things that, have hindered some of your past relationships. And even if you are in a relationship now, think of things that maybe have hindered your relationship with that person. What are the ways you run away when you hit your edges? What will help you stop running away and sit still when you hit your edges? What would help you have the courage to look inside, to challenge your beliefs, and live with the anxiety the confusion, the discomfort. Excuse me. And as I said before, we're not living in this. We're not living in the anxiety. We're living through it. You're living through it as the observer. And then you don't hit that downward, so to speak, spiral that this is ridiculous and gets out of control every time. Because you're just observing. Because it is there. You might need to ask yourself these questions many times and listen in the quiet to hear your answer. You might also hear the ego being indignant. How dare you question my thoughts, my personalities, my beliefs? But don't give way. By wrecking your illusions, you can find the jewel that's in you. The spiritual path is a process of unmasking ourselves rather than changing or repairing ourselves. And that is something over the past year that has really, I guess, hit home to me, is that I'm not repairing. I am not damaged. I don't have to change. I just have to remember. And all of these things along the spiritual path is remembrance, because we always are. And we always will be. This divine essence. And when you become aware, when you become awake, it is to remember that. And to remember that this human now, whoever you are now, is what you want to be experiencing and accepting and loving and appreciating. And not repairing. Because there is nothing wrong about any of you. Our task is to crack through and soften the layers upon layers of personas and masks that we have donned to protect us from the false core beliefs that covers our hurt, that covers the losses, that covers the loneliness. We start by being aware of our masks, curious about their purpose, amused by their cleverness, yet always remembering that masks are simply that. They cannot love. We can remove these coverings in 1,000 ways when we soften our eyes and say, I care about you. And I always take it a step further and say, I love you. I appreciate you. I see you. You can even give it a namaste. I bow to the divine and sacred in this, in you, in this, thing that before I've seen as something wrong, something I needed to fix. When we stop showing off and say, I'm afraid, I feel incompetent, we might quietly say to our beloved, I'm feeling afraid. Can we sit together in this fear? Most of all, we need to recognize our fear as ours and not attribute them to the weather, to the stars, to another person. When you drop your mask, you invite others to do the same. Some people will accept the invitations and others may run away. But they start to feel acutely aware of their own coverings. And that's why they are running away. You are bringing awareness to theirs when you drop yours. It's like when I quit drinking a couple years ago. Like, obviously, the people who knew me then thought it was like, crazy, but they were happy. But I always found it hilarious when I would go out, and I would, go out to music, and music is mostly in bars, and it wasn't like a big deal or nothing, but people would come up to me like constantly like, oh, that's so awesome, you know, I heard you stop drinking. And then they'd go into, I'm not really drinking that much these days. Or I've cut way back, as there, you know, some of them were, you know, clearly past the cutting way back point, but it was because I stopped, that I brought out their feelings of things that maybe they wanted to do. Maybe they didn't want to be drinking that much, but they did not know how to stop. Because it's such an ingrained pattern. And there is a lot more to it. So that is just an example of how you bring things out in other people when you take off your mask. Because I didn't need that mask of alcohol anymore to live, to survive. Because I wanted to thrive. But remember, if you want love and friendship, if you want to know beauty, you must walk the path undisguised. Staying loyal to your journey means living with integrity, even when it hurts. If we meet someone and know he or she isn't a good fit, we don't stay with them out of convenience while we wait for someone better to come along. We don't cause harm to ourselves or others by suddenly abandoning our lives as we rush blindly towards an illusion. So if you are in a relationship that you know is not going to work, move from it. It's not anything right or wrong. You don't need to place blame and say, you know, I think in the past I've had relationships that were like, obviously I stayed too long and ended extremely, where I could have left before and just said, you know what, we are not a good fit. But I wasn't aware of that. And I don't even think that I was aware that I could do that. And, you know, it is a journey. And I didn't love myself enough to do that. So we need to be aware of our inner trickster, the ego in its many disguises lulling us to sleep. Our trickster is the con artist within, rationalizing, making excuses, pushing away, dreaming of the perfect prince. There is no one is good enough, or thinking no one is good enough, or making us believe we can find someone who will take care of us and allow us to do whatever we want, so we can give up responsibility for ourselves. Sometimes our trickster slips on the mask of the wise one or the teacher, full of advice and counsel for others, in order to deflect us from our own insecurities and fears. So that would be you giving all your friends this wonderful, beautiful advice, and then you don't follow it yourself. And I'm pretty sure we've all, you know, been in that situation. Because it's kind of like our self is like trying to give us advice and be like, hey, you know, you should heed your advice. So if you're going to give your advice, make sure that you're living by that advice that you're giving. And it's okay to give advice and to, you know, take advice, and then you get to choose. Advice isn't so that person better do what I say, or, you know, the same at you, like you better do what I say because I gave you this great advice. No, it's advice. It's, I think this is my perception. It may help you. But we get to choose what we do with that advice. Do we take it? Do we heed it? So remember, the trickster's axe is all a covering for fear. It's the wall that keeps us from our essence. On our spiritual path, we must become a gentle warrior, curious, kind, and alert to our own con games, whispering to ourselves, wake up. And this is how we can have these conscious relationships with our lovers, with our friends, our family, because we're staying loyal to our journey, with integrity, even if it hurts. Because in that hurt is something beautiful, is something better for you, is just showing you something. And all we need to do is, quiet our minds and go into that heart space. And when we do that, it becomes easier to then, stay longer and longer within that heart space and not have so many questions. And to be able to then recognize these things in us are like, our little tricksters, the ego trying to do anything to, it doesn't want to be hurt. It is afraid it's going to get hurt. And fear is, one of the lowest vibrations, fear and shame. So it is like, love's over here, and here's fear and shame over here, and what we're trying to do is bring them together to this space in between. And it's just acceptance and love for yourself and your journey, and to not listen to these, lies. Because really and truly, full mastery comes when the only one that we listen to is ourselves. And your heart. Yourselves meaning your divine essence. And your heart is the connection with that divine essence. And that's how you become a master of your life, a master of who you are, is when nothing else matters but what your heart says. So listen to it. Be friends with it. Be friends with all that you are. And don't I don't know where I was going there. But just stay loyal. Stay loyal to your journey and what you want to share through your divine expression. And I will see you tomorrow. Love ya.